The morning mist jungle was a place of vibrant colors and endless noise. High in the emerald canopy lived Barnaby, a golden lion tamarin with fur like spun sunlight and a personality that was twice as loud as his appearance. Barnaby's goal in life was simple: to be the most spectacular scout the jungle had ever seen. He spent his days leaping across branches, shouting warnings about distant clouds, and narrating his every move to anyone or anything that would listen. "Look at that form! Notice the tail flick? Danger is my middle name, though technically it's Arthur," Barnaby would chirp, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and a secret nagging fear that if he stopped moving, he'd be forgotten. His best friend, Pip, was a tiny pygmy owl with feathers the color of bark and eyes like glowing amber. Pip was a watcher. While Barnaby was a whirlwind of motion, Pip was a statue of stillness. Pip's motivation was different. He wanted to find the true north, a legendary valley where the water supposedly tasted like starlight. Pip didn't speak much, preferring to tilt his head and blink slowly, absorbing the world's secrets. One afternoon, a thick purple fog rolled off the mountains, swallowing the jungle whole. It wasn't a scary fog, but it was incredibly confusing. The monkeys couldn't find their fruit, and the parrots were flying into giant ferns. "Stay calm! I, the Barnaby the Brave, shall lead us out," Barnaby cried, his voice trembling just a bit. He began leaping blindly into the purple haze. "Follow the sound of my magnificent voice. I'll just jump over—" Whoops! Barnaby tumbled through a thicket of vines, landing with a soft thud on a mossy floor he didn't recognize. He scrambled up, his golden fur dusty. "I meant to do that. It's a shortcut." But when he looked around, he saw nothing but purple mist. For the first time in his life, Barnaby was truly alone, and the silence was terrifying. "Pip, Pip, where are you? I can't see my own paws." A soft fluff of feathers landed on his shoulder. Pip had followed the sound of Barnaby's crashing. "Barnaby," Pip whispered, his voice like rustling leaves. "Stop, you're making too much wind. You're blowing the clues away." Barnaby wanted to scream, to run, to tell a joke, anything to drown out the heavy quiet of the fog. "But Pip, if I don't shout, how will the others find us? If I don't move, we're just sitting." Pip hopped down to a large flat stone. He closed his large amber eyes. "The fog hides the trees, Barnaby, but it cannot hide the ground. Listen, not with your ears, but with your feet." Barnaby fidgeted. He adjusted his crown of leaves. He cleared his throat. But seeing Pip's absolute calm, he finally sat down. He tucked his long golden tail around his toes. He closed his eyes. At first, he heard nothing but the pounding of his own heart. But as he forced himself to stay still, the world began to speak. He heard the drip-drop of moisture sliding off a heavy leaf to the left. He felt a tiny cool breeze tickling the fur on his right ear. Most importantly, he heard a low, musical hum vibrating through the stone beneath him. "The water," Barnaby whispered, his eyes snapping open. "It's not ahead of us, it's under us." Pip nodded slowly. "The hidden valley isn't a place you find by looking up, you find it by listening down." Using his powerful digging claws, the ones he usually used to show off for the other monkeys, he began to move the moss and loose stones aside. He didn't narrate, he didn't brag, he worked with a quiet, focused energy he didn't know he possessed. Suddenly, the ground gave way to a shimmering underground grotto. The purple fog couldn't reach down here. The water sparkled with a soft blue luminescence, illuminating ancient carvings on the walls. It was the true north. The two friends sat by the glowing pool. Barnaby took a sip. It did indeed taste like starlight. "Pip?" Barnaby said softly, his voice finally matching the peace of the cave. "I thought I had to be the loudest to be the leader, but I couldn't hear the way home over my own shouting." Pip tilted his head, a tiny owl smile touching his beak. "You have a great voice, Barnaby, but even the sun has to set so we can see the stars." When the fog eventually cleared, Barnaby led the troop back to the trees. He was still fast and he was still golden, but he walked with a new kind of grace. He realized that the most important truths aren't the ones you shout to the world. They're the ones that reveal themselves when you're finally quiet enough to listen.